Are women prepared to handle men's stuff? Or is it that just men are emotionally immature, don't know how to communicate? Where you fall on this topic, we about to get into this today. And this is the first time, I think this is the first time we have had a female therapist on the show. Let's get it, y'all.
To the Get Your S.H.I.F.T. Together Men's Podcast with your host, Dr. Myron Edmonds.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Get Your S.H.I.F.T. Together Men's Podcast, where we help men to win in the things that matter. I'm Dr. Myron Edmonds, and my man, Jay Watt.
Yeah.
It's been a minute, bro.
As you can see, I'm in HD now, so all the hate can kind of, go left. I'm in HD. Should be
it's not
4K.
Just HD, man. It's not just HD. It's just like, I mean, you got the screen in the back, man. Everything, the fireplace, fire is going, man. I mean, dude, what you got? You got a studio? You got a studio at the crib?
Listen.
Hey, listen, man. We need y'all to do us a favor right now and go ahead and subscribe right now to the Get Your S.H.I.F.T. Together Men's Podcast. And the way that you can do that is by clicking that little button right there on YouTube that says subscribe. Like, click that right there. And then the next thing you're going to do is there's a little notification bell. Click that notification bell so that every time we get down and our show broadcast, you can be notified and you can be in it. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. We want to know what you're thinking. Get in those comments right now and tell us how you feel on this. We got a great subject today, but before we get into that great subject, it's been a long time since we've been together, man. We had the 10,000 praying men event that was amazing. And today we are sponsored by the Men's Breakthrough Challenge. If there's any brothers out there and you need help, you need community, you need some personal development, not just professional development. A lot of brothers out there, you know what I'm saying, they're trying to secure the bag. But some of y'all going to fumble that bag because you got personal issues that's going to get in the way of that bag. If you need help, I'm your coach. I take brothers on an 8-week journey that's transformative to help you to deal with all your trauma, your issues, your stuff, so that you not only secure the bag, but you protect that bag. Fellas, sign up right now. Go to mensbreakthroughmastermind.com, Men's Breakthrough Mastermind, and join the mastermind. All right, bro.
What up, man? I had a little issue there with the connection problem, but hopefully I'm back in HD. Hopefully I'm back. Everything's good.
Guy, I mean, we've been in HD around here, brother. We've been in HD. We're not even tripping on it.
Listen, I was just saying, man. How's everything with you, man? Everything been good?
No, everything's been good, man. We just been trying to grow this thing, man. Trying to reach more men, man. I'm in the middle of a challenge right now. Got a bunch of men. We doing a 3-day challenge, and it's just crazy, man. Brothers are hungry for this thing, brother. They hungry for it, and they also hungry for these man laws. See, you so caught up. This man's so caught up in his background and his camera and his new setup downstairs, his little studio.
Yes. Definitely. We're not gonna go man law today, man. Gonna kind of skip away at the little bit of the iceberg of a very serious conversation that has been going on, but recently came back up to light from the comments of Mr. Jason Whitlock. Everybody knows who Jason Whitlock is, man. He is a commentator on Fox News, and he made some comments about the instances that happened down in Memphis, Tennessee, with the young man that lost his life from police brutality. Yeah, man.
Tyree Nichols.
young brother.
Bro, you're gonna start Black History Month talking about Jason Whitlock. This better be good.
First of all, prayers and condolences to his family, Nichols' family. But one thing that Mr. Whitlock, he tried to put out there is that the situation happened because of, the absence of the father in the Black community, and how, single mothers raise these police officers per se, or the mayor, the police chief is a single mother. So this is the result of that, and it kind of, yeah, man. He made some crazy off the hook comments and just kind of put everybody in a uproar about the family structure of the Black community, and how we have a small barrier of keeping a father in the household. And, most of the issues that we go through is the end result of that. So,
Hold on. So you saying that man got killed? That man got killed because he don't got no father in his home?
Or no, the cops, or just the raising of Black men is just absent of fatherhood. So the guidance in the Black community is not there. So we don't know how to act and govern ourselves, and that's why we go through all the issues that we go through. So that was the topic the comments that he made, and just got a whole bunch of sisters in a uproar, man. Sisters got the single motherhood community in an absolute uproar. I was at work.
Come on, talk about it. I'm here for it. What are they talking about?
I was at work the other day, actually yesterday, and a young lady who I work with, who's a single Black mother, she couldn't even finish her shift. Really, her feathers were so ruffled, man, and I understand why, because that does strike a chord in the Black community about, the fatherhood presence not being as prevalent as it should be in the household. So how do you feel about that, Myron? Do you feel that, single mothers could properly, plus I know this is a very deep topic, so I just want you just to touch on it. Do you feel like the single mother in our community can properly raise a Black man without a Black male father figure being in the home?
So first of all, I'm about to fact check Jason Whitlock. Now, I did not see Jason Whitlock's comment. I didn't hear a word he said. I know he clickbait every time he speaks. He's controversial. Although I was shocked when he did defend Kyrie Irving, which was fairly shocking to me. But I mean, first of all, there was an article that came out a few years ago, and it's on fatherhood.gov. I'm looking at it right now, and it talks about this myth that 70% of all births to Black mothers are non-marital, and therefore Black fathers are largely absent in their kids' lives. Well, it's a myth. It's a myth, and it's not true. According to the study, it said Black men are more involved in their kids' lives than white men are. So I'm saying this Black guy, to me, he's perpetuating this myth. To me, it's propaganda to continue to paint Black men as absent in the home. Now, it doesn't mean that we all married to these women, but a lot of Black brothers are in the lives of their children. But the I'm saying, the image is that we're not. And I can't. He's supposed to be more intelligent than that. Like, I mean, I Googled this. I'm literally looking at a number of articles. And all of them saying the myth of the absent Black father. It's a myth. Breaking myths about Black fatherhood, man. And then the other thing is how come this man ain't saying nothing, man, when all these white cops be killing people? Did he speak out when George Floyd was killed? Did he speak out on that? I mean, these days, since you're talking about Jason Whitlock, man, I got to bring in Jay. I know Jay is here. Let me bring him to the stage right now. But yeah, I mean, I can't.
Yeah, man. He said what happened with George Floyd was organic. That's what he said. He said, what happened with George Floyd was organic. He was passing out bad checks. He was high. It was just a multitude of factors that just kind of went in to the passing of George Floyd. But with Mr. Nichols, it was more of a sought out gang violence thing. They kind of sought him out. They kind of stalked him as prey to beat him up and have that ultimately be his ending, his fatal demise. So
it's still a traffic
brother,
stop. It's a traffic stop where a man probably shouldn't have got arrested, but ends up getting killed. Like this is, and it just amazes me how they always try to find a way to justify, something that a white person does or white law enforcement does, and then I hate this. This is black men, but to me, police are police, and there's a code. There's a blue code that is different than a black code. It's just different. Whether they shout out to all the brothers out there that got the right mindset and they're cops, and you think differently, because I know a few of you out there, but there's a whole lot of cops who have bought into this. You know what I'm saying? The system, the structure, the mindset that it's blue over black, man, and that's another case of it right there. It's like slave patrol out there.
Definitely, but I do want to point out that what you said, Myron, is right on target, man. It's a myth, man. Black men, black fathers, we are present in our children's homes. We're active in our children's lives. It's just a myth that is constantly perpetuated by dudes like Jason Whitlock, man. I just want to paint that stereotype, man. But that's not the case, and I don't think that was the case in what happened here. I just think that that we as a community need to give our male father figures more credit than the outside per se.
Well, that's going to actually come up again. I got something to tell y'all of an experience I had last night in this men's challenge that we have. Again, just want to before we talk to Jay, it's been a while since we talked to him and see what he's talking about, all things sports. But it's interesting that the sponsorship for today's show is the Men's Breakthrough Mastermind. Brothers especially need to have a safe space, man, where they can really deal with some of their issues. And there's so many brothers out there who just feel like there's no safe space. That's actually the conversation we're going to have in a little bit, as we have on our show today for the first time a female therapist to come and share her perspective on men and communication. But before we do, Jay, talk to us, man. It's been a minute since we've seen you. I see you repping the Raiders cap, clearly not repping the Colts cap.
The Colts are so bad. I'm taking offers for other teams to gravy train. So the Raiders are the first one up because I've always liked the colors.
Yeah, no doubt about that. What's on your mind today, brother?
I mean, I was going to talk about Dak Prescott and how he's overpaid, and you kind of came at me on Facebook, and you were absolutely unequivocally wrong. A mediocre quarterback, top dollar. It's not personal. It's not because he's black. It's not because I hate the Cowboys. It's just you can't pay Matt Ryan money. You can't pay Kirk Cousins a lot of money. You can barely pay Stat Patford out in LA all of that money. It doesn't work. You really can only pay Mahomes. Maybe Josh Allen. I'm not that big on Josh Allen, but Buffalo's a very small market, and Joey Cigars, and that's about it, man. You can't be the Cleveland Browns. You can't pay Deshaun Watson all that money when he's a good, not a great quarterback. The Eagles are going to face that with Jalen Hurts after they win the Super Bowl next week. If Jalen Hurts is smart, man, he'll take a little bit less money and keep all those receivers. He'll make all of that money up on the back end. But Dakota Prescott, because the Cowboys are box office and Stephen A. Smith trolls them with the cowboy hat and the cigar and all of that, that's the biggest story. And, they're paying him and Ezekiel Elliott almost a third of their cap. And Dak Prescott on a good day is a B-plus quarterback. He's usually a B- quarterback. And this year he's played like a C-plus quarterback. And Ezekiel Elliott, who I love more than anyone, is absolutely washed. It's a salary cap league. But I think what you guys are talking about is much more important.
There's a connection. I long to hear some brothers stop trying to be so sports and politically correct and talk about salary cap and how it's bad for the team and the organization and it's all about the Super Bowls. How about that brothers are up there setting up their families for generations? You should be excited.
That's not my job as a fan. Man.
wants to take the high road.
Right. I give a bleep about Dak Prescott's family. I mean, if he has $40 million a year or $32 million a year and could get 3 other starting players and win a dang Super Bowl, he's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. You know what that means?
Have a different take. It's Black History Month, for crying out loud.
You know what that means, Myron? Being the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys means that he's going to immediately walk into an NFL job making $25 million or more. The day he retires, he's going to go to ESPN. He's going to be on Monday Night Football. He's going to be on ABC. He's going to have a car dealership in Dallas that sells Ferraris and Lamborghinis. Everyone, Don Meredith, Tony Romo, Troy Aikman. If you're the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, you're going to make a lot of money.
No. First of all, don't be disrespectful and say Don Meredith is a Cowboy. He was a Redskin, and you should know better than that to even let that come out of your mouth. Don
Meredith is absolutely a Cowboy.
Let me fact check you on that.
You're Don Meredith is a Cowboy.
Oh yeah, no, but anyway, but before we even get on that, it's Black History Month. Change your take, man. Brothers are getting paid. I'm happy. This controversial take. I'm happy Deshaun Watson got $120 million. Oh no, was it 200 million? Did he get 200 million? Was it 200?
Are we watching sports for the upliftment of the Black community? Or
yes.
Yes. I want the Colts to win Super Bowls. I hope that they draft CJ Stroud and win Super Bowls with him. I hope that they have a Black quarterback. I love that Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts are facing off in the Super Bowl. The first time we've had 2 Black quarterbacks facing off in the Super Bowl. But are you saying that in February I have to usurp my fandom and my desire to win Lombardis and win national championships for the upliftment of the Black community? I did not get the memo. If that's the case, I'm not mad about that. But you got to send that memo out, good brother. You gotta prep before the show. You can't spring that on me after I've already given my take.
Yeah. All right, I hear you. You're right. And I do need to fact check you on that Don Meredith. I have a feeling that I'm wrong about that. But anyway, we have today with us what I think is a really good conversation. We have with us today Natalie Alexander. She is a licensed therapist, and she's coming to us out of Huntsville, Alabama. I had a great conversation with her via Messenger, and that conversation went to text message. And I was like, man, this is something we got to discuss. And we actually let a woman in here today, man. I just want brothers, don't. We're not selling out. We're not selling out for all of our viewers. We're not selling out, but every now and then it's nice to have a different perspective, and especially on this conversation. But anyway, before we jump into the conversation, hello, Natalie. Welcome to the Get Your S.H.I.F.T. Together Men's Podcast.
Hi, Myron. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, let's get right into it. I want to show this video, and this video is somewhat of a springboard to the conversation we want to have today. And I posted on my social media account, and to this day, people ask me all the time, like, how are you getting I literally just post controversial stuff. And for whatever reason, all this stuff that I'm posting is tracking with people. Anyway, I'm going to show you this, and then let's talk a little bit about what the judge says.
She said, you never hit a man where he's weak. Never. It could be true, it could be real, but you don't hit him where he's weak because it'll turn around on you. You can get him to do what you need.
All right, so she says you should never hit a man where he's weak. She goes on to talk about, what's her name, Judge? What? I keep forgetting her name.
Lynn Toller.
Huh?
Lynn Toller.
Yeah, Lynn Toller. She was on a podcast. She was going in really just about relationships, but one of the areas that was kind of controversial was this little quote here about how her mother told her that women should never hit a man where he is weak. And she goes on to say, there are other ways that you can get him to do what you want him to do. I'm confused about what she's saying. I think there's some truth to what honestly, let me just tell you my first reaction, and then I want to punt this ball to our therapist and guest today. But it seems like what she's saying is that, I don't know if this is a Black woman thing or something, but there's this unwritten code that you're not supposed to hit a man where he's weak. I'm assuming where he's vulnerable, where maybe his ego is a little weak. So it almost seems like she's saying you avoid some of those hard conversations. She did say hit, so I don't know if she means be disrespectful. I'm kind of confused about what she's saying, but if I were to interpret it, almost sounds like Mama's wisdom to her is don't hit a man where he is vulnerable, where he is weak, where there's insecurities. If you really want to get him to do stuff, don't push him in those areas. That's kind of how I took it. I don't know. How did you take that, Natalie? And what are your thoughts on what the good judge said?
Okay, so I'm trying to think of a good way to say it. So, and you said it earlier, Myron, where men are afraid, men need a safe space to talk, to share their feelings, and to be vulnerable. And I believe that that's what she's really talking about. Like when a man is feeling upset or stressed about whatever it is that's happening in his life, a woman need not point it out and kind of amplify it to make him feel worse about it. Case in point, there are husbands who sincerely want to do something wonderful for his wife. So he'll sweep the floor, he'll mop the floor. She'll come home, see the floor mopped, and be like, "You mopped it with the wrong thing." And that's his vulnerable space. Her not recognizing that he really wanted to please her, but her finding the wrong thing or criticizing that very thing and not seeing his motive. That's a weak spot. That's a vulnerability. So he'll stop doing nice things for her. He'll stop thinking ahead, and he'll just stop and then start asking permission for what next to do. What do you want me to do, babe? Which ends up really negatively affecting the relationship, because then I get couples where the wife is like, "I'm tired of doing all the things. I'm tired of thinking of what to do next. I just need him to know what to do." A lot of times he has stopped taking initiative, because every time he took initiative and was vulnerable and loving towards her, there was always something wrong with what he did. I hope that made sense.
No, that does make sense. I want to get the other brothers to weigh in on this, because so Chris Rock said this. This is another thing that has gone viral. Chris Rock said, some of y'all saw this in a stand-up routine he did, but it's getting a lot of airtime on Instagram and TikTok. He says, "Only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. A man is only loved under the condition that he provides something."
All right.
So to me, this speaks to, and I just want the brothers to be real, this speaks to the why would a woman feel like that she could not go there with a man? I'm married 21 years, and honestly, I'm hoping that I married a woman who, and which I feel like I have, right, where there are no places that are off limits, right? I mean, and I'm just throw this out here. I personally feel like for a man, they talk about unconditional love, right? And I know this has some connection to community. I mean, to communication. But we talk about how in a marriage or in a relationship with a man and a woman, there should be unconditional love. Everybody agrees with that, right? There should be unconditional love.
Yes.
Should a man not get unconditional respect? Or does he have to earn that? Because that's what I hear Chris Rock saying. And so the position that you shouldn't hit a man where he's weak is almost like, he's got these areas, and until he gets these, I mean, some women will hit a man where he's weak, and there's a lot of brothers who have shut down from a communication standpoint because they don't trust their emotions with their women.
I'd like to clarify.
Okay.
Men have been taught, as boys, big boys don't cry, be a man, get out of your feelings. And so to survive and to exist, what else does a man have to do? He just has to do. And this is how he shows up. He shows up by doing. He doesn't show up by being. So when he's dating his girl, he's buying her stuff, or he's taking her here, and he is, accommodating her emotions. So he's, listening to her vent and talking about the girlfriends and marriage, and he is totally void of his emotions. He's checked out. So that becomes his safety, where he doesn't allow himself to be vulnerable or emotional in any way, shape, or form. But the best way he shows up is when he is doing something. So society has been formed in a way and cultivated in a way where if a man shows up in what he does, and in certain spaces, if a man shows up in how much he makes, then he's a valuable man. Then marriages break down, because after a while of that, a woman is like, "Where are you emotionally, honey? You don't feel, I don't know how you're feeling. There's no intimacy." Then the sex stops because the emotional intimacy has been halted.
You preaching.
A lot of times men don't know how to show up emotionally because he never learned. And matter of fact, he learned that his emotions was a bad thing. I'm going to take a few steps back. In his adolescence, if he was raised by just his mom, in the African-American community, that testosterone that comes up is viewed as disrespect. So that shuts down. I'm not allowed to be manly. And so I've got to be softer, and I've just got to shut up, or I've just got to obey her. There's all of these layers and all of these factors that play in. Men need to be respected just for being a man, just for being a boy. Boys need to be respected if you're going to expect him to grow up to be manly and masculine like. Okay, so I want to clarify these things. Chris Rock is correct. However, that is a function of the society that we live in and what men have been taught in terms of how to show up. I'm going to take it a step further. This is how narcissism is formed, because men's emotions, boys' emotions are not taken into account. So men, oh, good boy, he runs fast, he's in this sport. They learn how to perform, not how to be and how to feel.
This is encouraged. It feels like this is encouraged by women. I heard a husband say to me in a session, he said he feels like his woman emotionally dominates the relationship. Jason, Jay, weigh in on this. I don't know what your thoughts are about this, but it definitely feels like there is a double standard. And it's like women are complaining about men. And this is what I hear Natalie saying. It's almost like women are complaining about men, and they're coming up with manipulative ways to get men to do stuff, right? Because men are not, emotionally in tune with themselves. They don't communicate well. But it seems like we were almost set up to be like this by women, when we started dating and maybe even in childhood. I don't know, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to take a quick whack at it and defer to Jason, because you guys are veterans being married. I've only been married for 8 months, so I'm still learning. I don't even know what I don't know, but I will say that it's very important, the concept, especially for African-American men, that you have to perform. I think that Chris Rock hit that on the head. That's an old clip from about 10, 15 years ago, but it's resurfaced because there's kind of this movement, people like you, Dr. Edmonds, that are really leading that discussion. There's so much pressure on men to perform, rather it's on the basketball court, the football field, the boardroom, the law room. And if you're not performing,
don't forget the bedroom. You got it.
Definitely. Jason, I'm sure there's pressure on you to perform when you're doing a DJ set, and we are measured by how much we make, how much we contribute to society and all of those things. And I agree with Dr. Alexander, Dr. Edmonds. It's very important that we start addressing these issues earlier in life. I think that, Myron and I went to school together. Those that were better athletes got more girls. They got more attention. People that were great singers got more attention. You didn't get attention or accolades for being a brilliant thought leader that was quiet and minded your business. You got it for things that are superficial. And I think we live in that world where we're constantly pressured. I know people that are making top 1% money. They're making excess of $500,000 a year, and they feel pressure by their families to make more and to get to the next level. And they're putting that constant pressure on themselves, and society has that pressure on them. And a lot of times we make decisions. I know a lot of guys that play sports and they didn't even really wanted to play sports. They did it because they got the accolades for it. They got the love. They got the respect. I know people that are lawyers making $300,000 a year. They don't want to be a lawyer. They actually want to do something else, but they want to provide the lifestyle for their wife and their family, and they feel pressure. They feel that if they do what they really want to do is become an entrepreneur and open up a restaurant, that they will have failed their family, and they live 20, 30 years doing something they absolutely detest, and that's no way to live. So I think that just this thought leadership in getting to men, young men, 10, 11, 12, that's not how you state your value in what you do for a living or your prowess in athletics. I think that's a phenomenal thing.
There's a lot of pressure on men. Go ahead, Jay, weigh in.
Yeah, it's a lot of jewels being dropped in the last 5-10 minutes. And I just want to just touch on a couple that I've heard. One thing that, Miss Alexander brought up that is very much on point is that women need to recognize when a man is trying. Women need to not critique what a man is doing, but, you know, give props and give kudos for when a man is trying. You know, my marriage is not perfect by any way, shape, or form, but I will say when I do stuff and then my wife was like, she'll come in and say, oh, well, you should have did this instead of that. And not just acknowledge that, hey, you know, I did the dishes. True story. Last week, you know, my wife is real big on shopping for the house. She's big on that, right? And so I like to shop too. So I went out and, you know, I bought some dish pods. And, you know, I come in, I throw the dish pods in the dishwasher. You know, she comes in, she's, what is this? You know, like, what are these dish pods? We can't do the dishes with these dish pods. We need these other dish pods because they're going to do a lot better. It's just kind of like, man, babe, you know, I was trying to, you know, do the dishes the right way, you know, and that kind of brought me back a little bit. So then in my mind, just like you said, I revert to, well, I ain't gonna do the dishes no more, you know. So I just think that giving kudos and recognition, you know, is, I never thought that words of affirmation would be like the important love language for me. As a man, men always think, you know, physical touch, physical touch, physical touch. But, you know, words of affirmation goes, I think, probably 5 times longer than physical touch, because just like you said, you know, everybody saying on a podcast, there's a lot of stress on us to perform. There's a lot of stress on us to do well. There's a lot of stress on us to be providers and to hold down our family. And so when we do that, you know, when we put 100% effort in trying to run our household, you know, it's very important for us to kind of get those words of affirmation, because it gives us the gumption and the strength to keep on going, you know. So if there's any sisters that's listening to this right now when we do the clip, I just want to put it out there to y'all. Okay, listen, look in the camera, look at me. Praise your man, affirm your man. It's very important that you affirm the man in your life, the men in your life, because you don't know how far that goes and how that gives him the strength to go on each day.
Absolutely.
And to reach that performance strength that he needs to do to
Absolutely.
hold down his family, to make that income, to go ahead and do the things that he needs to do to make sure that, you know, his household is where it needs to be.
Absolutely.
Because every day we don't get that, you know, it's just expected of us. It's just expected for us to get up and go to work and hold it down and to deal with the pressures of white America. You know, I hate to put it out there like that, but when we get the affirmation, when we get the little pat on your back or the little kiss or pat on the butt, you know what I'm saying, good morning or whatever, that goes a long way to us black men trying to hold it down in our families.
Yeah, but sisters are hold on, let me say this.
Sisters, interject, because I want to say
hold on. I need to just bring this out real quick, because a lot of sisters are frustrated because, and here's what's crazy. I was watching the Best Man, the new series. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
And what's Nia Long's character? I forgot her name, but she is very successful, but she's single. She's one of the only ones in the group that doesn't have a relationship, and her whole character is about her making all this money at the top of her game. She's got just about everything that anybody would want from a material perspective, from a professional perspective, but she doesn't have a man, and she wants a man. Mm-hmm. But my question is, why would she need a man, right? If the man can't provide for her, which is the thing that she may be looking for. You have a lot of professional women that have money, they got their job, they got their house, they got everything. They're looking for, excuse me, like relational connection. And if brothers don't have that, then what use is a brother? Before you answer that question, Doc, and Natalie, go ahead, Jay. But I'm concerned about that because I see that trend happening more and more, where women, they got the bag already. So now they're looking for like a bestie, you know what I'm saying, who can talk to them and who can connect with them. And we've been trained our whole lives to be providers, and we don't possess that skill set. And I see a lot of frustration in marriages, and I know you see this too, Natalie, where that element is present. But go ahead, Jay, before we let
I'll be real brief. Jason touched on it. It's not just necessarily your spouse either, your sister, your cousin, women in your life being affirming. It's important. If you have platonic female friends, it's just you want that support. So it's obviously different from your spouse, life partner. But just if you have a sister that says, hey, Dr. Edmonds, I support you. I love you. I believe in you. That stuff goes a long way for Black men. Just women in your life, your mother. I mean, it's just very important. Your grandmother. All of that's really important. I just wanted to interject that.
You think so? You think that will fill my cup? My mom is always affirming me. I want my wife to say I'm the man. And sometimes for a lot of brothers, they feel like that has to be earned. It shouldn't be earned. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. To me, respect. I think a woman can pull back respect. She's being abused, mistreated. I get that. But I'm saying if you don't have the man's love language, then do that. I mean, women sometimes emotionally dominate these relationships. A man's told, well, especially if you're married now, you can't have sex unless you're connecting with her emotionally. So you're trying to figure that out. And, so it's like we're like always catering.
I never liked emotional. Okay. I never liked.
I'm about to bust. Like I'm about to like my head's about to.
Go ahead.
Because you're saying a lot that I want to respond to that I really want to shift the perspective.
Yeah. Go ahead. Get in.
So Jordan, the character, something that the writers I didn't agree with. There was a point in that series where Jordan was faced with the potential boyfriend.
The Best Man series.
Yeah, right. Yep. She was faced with a potential boyfriend and the work that he was doing with private jails and so on and so forth. The relational aspect could have been allowing him to do what he does and to stand by his belief system, although it didn't mesh, it didn't coincide with her belief system. Because essentially there's this one part where he was like, I'm still helping the Black people. It's just in a different way. And she just was so staunch on her belief system that she could not allow for the relationship to happen. That little thing made them incompatible, which I get it. A woman has a right to choose how she wants to choose. But there's a stubbornness, there's a narrow vision that women have that is not necessary and it's not conducive to relationships. Here's the other part. Here's another part to what you were saying, Doc, Myron. There are a lot of women who have the bag, who have everything, and she doesn't need him. She just wants him. And a lot of men now are forming codependent relationships in a sense that, well, I can't love her unless she needs me. Well, how about love her because she wants you, and she may need you in other things, but she just wants you to be you and to be who you are versus what you can do for her. There's a shift in that perspective.
Oh, you got to explain that. Now, you got three men sitting here. Help us out.
That's break that down. We're not going to let you off the hook with that one. You got to break that one down.
And we got a bunch of men listen to this podcast. Please help us to understand that better, the codependency. Speak in layman's terms. What are you saying we need to be doing?
So it's like the whole doing piece, the whole like I'm doing this for her and I'm not gonna trust her love for me until I know that I can fulfill this need. So after a while of, okay, let's say for example, you're a single man and she has children and you're like, well, let me step in and be the father. Let me step in and provide for financially. Let me step in and be the male figure that this woman needs. Well, okay, fine. She doesn't get to know who he is as a person, right? In other words, I had a couple that came in and they were like 10 years into the relationship. So I said to the husband, I said to them, what do you know about her? He's like, well, she has 3 children. And I asked the wife, why do you love him? Well, when I met him, he took care of the children. He gave us money. He set us up. I said, who is he as a man? She was like,
wow.
Right. That's
he met the need, codependent. So she depended on him to do. She didn't love him for who he was, and therefore not allowing him to be his authentic self.
Are you saying that that's the status quo? Is that normal that you?
That's what I want to know. That
codependency.
It's very common, but it's highly dysfunctional because every relationship that's built on that codependency hits that wall. Because after a while, all the things have been done. Now what?
Yeah, I will say the codependent relationship is very evident as the individuals get older, because once you get a little older in age, like you're not really dating and marrying. Some people, you're not really dating and marrying for love. You're dating and marrying for a companion to kind of fill the gaps that
I mean, like romantic stuff. It's more
okay, right, okay, right, exactly. Fill the gaps. And so
and that's another behavior. That's another expectation. That's another pressure for men. Yeah. I gotta tell you this. Last night, as God is my witness, just last night, I had a session with some men, and I had one of the most hardcore truck driver brothers break all the way down last night. He broke all the way down from the streets, raised in the projects of Newark, New Jersey, like hardcore. And he broke down because he said he felt like he was not viewed in his home by his children, by his wife as a human. He's only viewed in terms of what he has to do, what the dependence that they have on him to work, the responsibilities that they place upon him to do A, B, and C. And effectually, he said what you're saying. He's like, man, I'm living in a home and I don't feel like nobody knows me. Right. They don't know me.
Right. And so shameless plug, if you don't mind, Doc Edmonds, I am doing an event called Men Have Feelings Too, and it's geared towards women to be able to recognize that men have feelings too. So that gentleman that has concerned about his wife emotionally dominating the relationship, I want to offer some empowering and some encouraging words. Take some time to to find his emotions, to put words to them and express them. Because a lot of times, and I'm sure we've all been in this situation where our partner will say, well, I feel such and such. And then all of a sudden that gives us the power to say, well, I feel that too. But that's not the time. The time when your partner says, well, I'm feeling like this is not the time for you to say, well, I'm feeling that too. Nobody gets heard. Nobody gets seen. Rather, what I counseled one of my wives yesterday, who has the same situation. I said to her that when he comes with, well, I'm feeling the same way too, let him know that you want to hear how he is feeling. But for right now, I'm expressing what I'm feeling right now, babe. I want to hear it. Put your hand on his chest, rub his back, rub his head, rub his beard. Let him know that you hear him. And that after we talk about this concern of mine, I'm going to hear and I'm going to spend the rest of the afternoon making time for your heart and what you want to tell me about your feelings. And then I have to touch on this part because women are too caught up in, I need to like him before I have sex with him. Sis, no, because I want you to be able to have sex with him and give him your body in spite of. I said to this particular woman,
whoa, hold on 1 second.
Hold on. Let me jump in here real quick because she said something earlier that, like, you know, I'm truly agreeing. Well,
man, get to it. Man. Hurry up. We got to.
I'm trying to get to it. About the emotional connection with sex and duty sex and all that stuff. I just can't subscribe to that, man. Like, I think as married couples, you should be having sex regularly.
Absolutely.
For a physical fulfillment need. I shouldn't have to pour into you emotionally. And I mean, you should, but that shouldn't be the main function. Oh, I gotta make sure that she's emotionally okay for me to have some sex tonight. Like, I just don't buy into that. That's
right. I agree 100%.
You agree?
100%. Okay. Let me give you some time to breathe that in.
I've never heard. Listen, I want you to resolve this because let me just prepare the guys for something, fellas. What I want us to do after she responds to this, because this is good, right? What we're going to do to kind of to close the show out is, I want you guys to be thinking in your minds of a question that you always wanted to ask a female therapist about women, right? Maybe even their brothers. We got her here. Whatever you feel like you need to ask, you might be asking on behalf of all the brothers out there in the streets. But we got a sister with us right now. And fellas, she sounds like she is an ally. She's an ally.
She sounds like one of the ones.
Anyway, all right. Natalie, when you're done, I'm gonna come to Jay, and I'm gonna come to Jason, and then I'll close. But go ahead, talk about this now. Go ahead.
She's one of the ones. I agree.
Of course you agree. Get out of here. Self-serving.
Okay. So one thing I want to say to the women before I answer this to the men, right? I have to encourage women and say that sex is just as much for women as it is for men. All right. I've had husbands block their ears, and I'm looking at that woman in the session and saying, girl, you better get it and get it for yourself and give it to him the way you want it. It is a healing mechanism. Sex is a bonding mechanism. It is all things beautiful and spiritual. Why would you wait to like somebody, your husband, to give it and to receive it and to share it? Wow. It is so deep and profound, right? And so to the old school, girl, you better give it to him or else somebody else will. Please put that in the trash, because no woman should ever feel the pressure to give her husband something that is so wonderful. That's just... It makes me cringe. Give it to him or else he'll take it from somebody else. That might be the case, but that doesn't ever need to be the motive for why you're making love and having sex with your husband. Okay.
What's the motive? What's the motive then?
All right. The motive is because it's a bonding agent. It's a glue. It's a glue. Sex saves marriages. It can be just the what do you call that? The maintenance of a marriage when things get rough. Right. So when y'all were dating before y'all got married and was having sex, okay, because it's a thing, and or if you waited until after you got married, that's wonderful. It was good because things were good. You liked him. He was doing what you wanted him to do. She was doing what you wanted her to do. She was stroking your ego, all the things. Every marriage and every relationship has rough times. Do not stop having sex during those rough times. Keep going, because at the end of the day, it still feels good. It still does all the things physically and emotionally and physiologically and psychologically. Why would you stop?
Some sisters literally have a block in their heads. I don't know. I mean, seriously, where they just feel like if the house is not clean, if there's no money in the bank, if the dude just ain't what he's supposed to be, if he's not communicating, and that's when we initially start. If he doesn't know how to talk.
Okay, think about, to those women, I would say, think about how good it feels. Can I get graphic or no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Think about how good it feels when he's sucking on your breasts, when he has penetrated and he's rocking you, when he's working your hips. Think about those moments and let those moments motivate you for the next time, and let that be the vehicle through which conversation happens.
It sounds so easy. Hey, listen, because I know, hey, Jason, I know that's all I'm thinking about. I'm like, girl, let me tell you something, man. My wife and I can have an argument right now, and bro, she walk a certain way, man. I'm just like, why should we be fighting?
Right.
Why should we be cross with each other? Let's work this out.
Let us reason together. 2 young kids, man, and just responsibilities, man. It's just it just takes over, But I do agree with you. You need to think about how good it is.
Sex is also a creative space. It's also a communication space. You communicate with your bodies in that space, not talking verbally. Stuff happens. You get illuminated, and that pillow talk afterward. It's oh my God, the thing, the clarity that comes behind that thing. And so I'm talking to men also who need to check into themselves emotionally, because you have a point with the women who need their husbands to talk and to be emotionally available. It's hard to have good sex with a man who is not emotionally connected to himself, because when he is, and he goes there and he goes further into that sexual moment, my God.
Okay, so let's get to this, because this is good, and we have just a few moments left. I'm going to start this question. This is the question I have. There are a lot of brothers out here just need to know, how do I tap into? I've been raised to not tap into my emotions. Can you give some very practical steps, like in a short answer, and then I'll go to J Lou, and then I'll go to Jason. But how does a man tap into his emotions? How does he communicate emotionally with a woman?
Check in with his body. Check in with your body. Check in. You mean emotionally connect with this woman? You've got to be able to emotionally connect to yourself first. You have to be brave enough to visit those spaces that you were told were bad spaces. Okay? You have to be honest with yourself. There's nothing wrong with how you feel. There's nothing wrong with tears. There's nothing wrong with being aroused at something that you were told you shouldn't be aroused at. You're a man.
Yeah.
So accept that and embrace that. First steps. You might want to journal, and when you're journaling, allow the emotions to come up. Allow them to come up. They're gonna come up. There's nothing wrong with them. This whole notion of get out of your feelings, throw it in the trash.
Yeah, I agree.
And don't take it out. Throw it in the trash and leave it there.
Okay, good.
And
all right.
And then share, talk. Babe, I was feeling, put words to it. Babe, I was feeling such and such, right? But I got to talk to the women. Before you go, I got to talk to the women to teach them how to listen to your man, to make it a safe space. Because men have words that are not the same as women words. So what I hear a lot, I'm sorry to use this time, men a lot of times get mean when they're hurt. You're the one that and they cut below the belt. They start getting mean. And it's not personal, sis. Take that and just say, hey, babe, what you're trying to say is this. He's going to say yes, and he will calm down and he will use different words. And if he can persist in meanness, you tell him that's hurtful because he's not trying to hurt you. He's just trying to say how he's feeling without the words, the correct words. Just start finding the words.
I love that. There's a lot of grace. There's a lot of grace in that. I love that. There's a lot of grace in that. Go ahead, Jay. Let me get to Jay. James, let me get to your comment and then your question. Then we get to Jason. Go ahead.
Yes.
My question for you, Natalie, is how should you handle as a woman? I'm curious your thoughts. The dynamic between friends and family. I think I have friends, and when I'm talking to my personal circle, it's how my wife disrespected me in front of people. In their work circle, personal circle, they're always deferring to their family over me. What is the best way to communicate those issues and to handle those issues?
To his wife?
Yes.
The best way is to communicate your feelings to her. I feel disrespected. I felt disrespected when you said X, Y, and Z. Moving forward, always add the moving forward piece to it. Moving forward, when you have something to say, please pull me aside, shoot me a text. Let's work on a nonverbal cue to let me know what you're feeling, what you're going through, so we can talk about it later. I really want to hear what you have to say, but I would like these kinds of conversations to be sacred.
I like that. That's not on the attack. It's not demeaning. And that's even a skill that has to be learned. Yeah, say it again, James.
I said moving forward is a great phrase. That's a great
phrase. Moving forward is a great phrase. All right, go ahead, Jason. Close us out, man. One more question for Natalie. You're not the female therapist, but you are today because you're in the men's podcast, and we don't have this very often. This is great. Go ahead, Jay.
It's an honor.
Yeah. I was laughing when she talked about the clarity, because me and my boys in our group chat, we have something called a PNC, or on here I say POC, post-orgasm clarity. Because your mind is so jumbled up, man. After you have that release, just everything just opens up.
It just clears up.
Clarity. Anything, but I'm the one on the podcast that I always got to be an advocate for my brothers, man, because it seems like, in society, everybody, kind of tends to kind of side with the females. Brothers, my advice to you, don't let these women, these females in your life off the hook. When you express your emotions, when you express, things that you're going through, and they don't give you that validation, or they don't give you that help that you need, call them out on it. Hey, I texted you today and I said that I was feeling depressed. I was feeling kind of weak, and, you didn't respond, or like you just kind of blew it off. Call them out on that stuff, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
You dismissed me. Hold up. Let me finish up. Call them
we're
out.
Supposed to be asking her questions. We're supposed to be asking her questions, and then here you go. Want to use your social work degree to start getting. Go ahead.
Here's my thing. It takes a lot for a man to gather up the strength to kind of release that stuff and let it go.
Yeah.
And when it's not addressed properly by somebody who you love, just don't take that hit and sulk in. you know, and I ain't saying that you got to fight about it, but just address it. Don't let it go unaddressed so that they think that that's normal behavior. When you find the strength to release your emotions, to release your feelings, to say, I'm feeling like this, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling sad today, I'm feeling, you know, overwhelmed.
Okay.
And you brush it off. It makes me feel like this. It makes me feel like I can't share with you anymore because I had to gather up the strength to let you know that. And by you not, you know, addressing it, even if it's not addressed appropriately, you know, just say, by you just brushing it off, it just makes me feel like I can't share with you no more. So I think that men have to be advocates for themselves for when they share those emotions and it's not handled properly, you know, to kind of double back and see where you could fix that miscommunication so it doesn't put a dent in your relationship, friendship, or marriage.
Moving forward. Go ahead, Natalie.
Yes, and one more thing to women, it's okay to be quiet sometimes. We don't have to talk about everything all the time, everything, all the words when we're talking to our man. We can just be quiet. He can say some things, and sometimes our man can just say stuff that's just out the way, just dumb, or just ridiculous, or even offensive. But men, masculine men, are rough around the edges. They're sharp. It's like, and we don't have to take it personal. We don't have to talk and say, well, we don't have to do all that. Just be quiet, be beautiful, be the flower, be the sexy woman that you are, and you'll get him to come around and to have the conversations that you need to have. And I think that that's what Judge Toller was saying. We can just be women and be feminine and be the beautiful flower that we are, and he will come around and say and do what we're asking, what we need him to do, without all of that pushback and vitriol and attitude.
And neck turning. Listen, I'm a man. I'm not a woman. You married a man. You didn't marry a woman. That's right. With all my best brothers. That's doggone right.
Exactly.
All right. Listen, man, this is a great conversation. We got to
great conversation.
We got to bring you back again because I got more questions. We got more questions. I think we waited too long to ask her these questions. We need more hacks on how to deal with these women. Anyway, do us a favor and make sure you click like and subscribe to this podcast right now. Click the notification so the next time we're on, you'll be able to hear it. All right, peace.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Get Your Shift Together Men's Podcast. For more information, please visit our website, menswinningscircle.com. That is, menswinningscircle.com. Let's win in the things that matter.